One of the things that I think we say it different ways, but we both say it, is at the beginning of an engagement, we just put it out there. We are willing to talk about any aspect of your life. It is all integrated. There is no such thing as compartmentalization. Silos don't work. So anytime you want to talk about any element of your life, it's always fair game. Don't push it, just put it out there. And I'd say the vast majority of clients always take me up on that. Well, can we talk a little bit about, I'm not spending enough time with my kids right now. My son came home the other day and said, "Hey, Dad, I haven't seen you during the daylight in like a month." So it's little things like that where you pick up on, okay, there are major issues here, and we need to really help them address the home life as well as the work life. So it's always fair game, always willing to talk about it. But I think sometimes clients that I deal with, are relieved that they have an outlet, and just helping them figure out, again, what are your stress triggers, what's causing this, how do we help you manage time more effectively, whatever it is, helps them get back on track. And you know what? If you're happy at home, you're much more likely to be happy at work.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about stress, and I think naturally our brain goes to unpleasant behaviors, right? Losing our temper a little bit, getting a little short with people, and that happens. That happens. But sometimes we have a reaction to stress that is well-intended,
Mm-hmm.
but unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the common things I've seen with my clients is, it's the title of my book, The Author versus Editor Dilemma.
Right.
So they get stressed out, right? Everything feels urgent all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do? They just start doing the work. They
Right.
start going into the business. They start getting their hands dirty, right? Because they feel like they need to spend more time in the business to get it under control.
Mm-hmm.
And the hours start creeping up to 65, 70, 75 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then their people start getting frustrated because they feel like they're being micromanaged, or more importantly, not trusted.
Right.
And then their people start leaving. And then what does the leader do? Well, I guess I gotta just keep doing this harder.
Mm-hmm.
It's that whole old adage I think I've shared with you before. I remember hearing Greg Maddux, who was the famous
Mm-hmm.
baseball pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, won 4 Cy Youngs, and he was asked one time, what's the difference between a Hall of Fame pitcher and just an okay pitcher? He said the okay pitcher, when they get into trouble, they throw harder. The great pitcher throws softer.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's our assistance with those clients to help them know how to, rather than go in harder, pull back a little softer, trust your people a little more, delegate a little bit more.
Well, there's a sub-theme to what you're saying that's so important. Everything is connected, and also there's a ripple effect that comes out of this. So in your scenario, they double down, they're working harder, they're not delegating. That also means they're not investing in their teams. They're not spending time with the people around them.
Right.
So they start to feel neglected, and they wind up doing quiet quitting or resigning because they feel like no one cares about me. So, in that moment, it's not just an isolated behavior. I've just got to double down and work more. Everything's connected. So helping leaders look in the mirror, understand that, start to trace that spider web. When you do this, these are the 3 strands that come from that, And I think that's something that we both enjoy doing. But this year has been a very intense year of helping leaders unwind from some of that.
I think so. Reflecting on a recent round of 360 interviews I was doing, and it was just for this particular leader, and it was 2 levels below her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm interviewing this person. The person said, this leader, she really is amazing. I really won't have any issues with her. But my biggest challenge is culturally, we have this thing we do in the business. She said, when things start to get urgent, fires pop up, the first thing is we cancel one-on-ones and team meetings. First thing we cancel.
Right.
And she says, I get it, in theory, because we need that time to do the work. But then what happens is that now I'm going 2, 3, 4 weeks without talking to my manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working on what I think I need to be working on.
Mm-hmm.
But when we finally reconnect, turns out I wasn't working on what they wanted me to be working on. Now we've got another fire.
Mm-hmm.
We cancel more one-on-ones and more team meetings.
Right.
So this becomes this thing. So part of it is also locking into your calendar those things that are really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
They may not feel like they're directly related to the work at hand, but if we keep doing them consistently, like coaching conversations and
Mm-hmm.
alignment meetings, it's going to prevent a lot of fires. It's kind of those healthy habits that we
Right.
try and put in place
Mhm.
with our clients.
I don't know if you remember this from my new book, Upon Reflection. I talk about in one of the chapters the difference between abundance mentality and the scarcity mindset. Stephen Covey coined that years ago, I think in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there were 2 distinct stories in there to kind of illustrate your point. In one story, I shared a leader at one of my big clients And she reached out to me, said she could use some coaching help, maybe her team needed some help. But as I started to interview her and gather data, she was working 70 hours a week. She was really, really struggling with time management. She was not delegating a lot of things that you mentioned. And she was really struggling and feeling resentful with anybody around her asking her for anything. When her team asked her for help or development or coaching, you figure it out. You're an adult. You've got to do that on your own. So she was really living in that scarcity mindset. I've only got so much pie, and you can't have any of my pie because I'll have less. And so helping her unwind from that, and I directly confronted her with it in a gentle way. You're operating from scarcity. Let's talk about how you can get to a better place. And we've been working together for 4 months, and she is in a really good place right now because she was willing to look in the mirror and make changes. The other example I would give you of abundance is my son Alex, we've talked about many times, has autism, and he works for a major global retailer. And the supervisor, the manager of his particular store, and by the way, this store employs 150 people. It's like a $15 million enterprise. It's a big deal. So this manager, I know for a fact, is dealing with probably 20%, he's like 20% short on staffing. He's had illness go through his store many times, major stress of running a retail operation. The guy's always dealing with that kind of thing. So Alex got COVID earlier this year, and the assistant manager called first just to say, hey, we heard Alex was sick. Just wanted to say, sorry about that. And, he just let us know if we can help. That was nice. Well, 5 minutes later, the store manager called, and I know what's on his plate. I know what he's dealing with. He spent 30 minutes with my wife talking about how much he valued Alex, how hard a worker he was, gave very specific stories about how well he was doing there in the store, and just said, I'm here to help in any way I can. And by the way, we're going to pay him the entire time he's gone. Wow. Now, that was a great example of the abundance mindset, because this guy had every reason to withdraw and not engage. He was overwhelmed, but he chose to operate from abundance. So anyway, when we're working with our leaders in a very simple way, we want to encourage them to leave scarcity behind and engage in abundance thinking.